Makoto Shinkai is an interesting director to say the least. He's got some of the best animation in the game, he created what might be the greatest anime movie of all time, and he is a landmark in helping bring anime into the mainstream. Yet whenever I hear this guy's got a new movie coming out, I'm like, It's not like this guy's fallen off in recent years. Every movie he's made in the past little while has maintained a consistent level of quality. But that word consistent. It's almost like it means acting or done in the same way over time, aka constant, regular, or that's right, unchanging! Makoto Shinkai has only made one movie for the past 10 years. Your Name? That was his first movie. 3 years later, Weathering with You, right? Wrong. Rain, Your Name. 3 more years, Suzume, yeah? Wrong again. Door, Your Name. What'll his next movie be? Wind, Your Name? Car, Your Name? Depression, Your Name? Wait, no, that one already exists. To me, Shinkai didn't really fall off so much as he stagnated. What once was new and groundbreaking, I now see as trite and formulaic. Youth slop, if you will. I feel like that sentiment for me started cropping up around when Weathering with You came out and got cemented with Suzume. And while Suzume is its whole own can of worms, I want to talk about the one that kicked off the journey of turning me into a Shinkai doubter. But in order to talk about Weathering with You properly, we gotta address the big man in the room first. It's been 10 years since Your Name came out. Yeah, that's right, feel old yet? So it may feel distant now, but do remember that that movie was built different. A film with parts so fine-tuned to create something so new and original that it was like we were rediscovering anime for the first time all over again. Cause when Your Name dropped and slowly picked up traction over the next year or so, the air was electric. I don't think it's hard to understand why Your Name hit for so many people. Beautiful animation, insanely good integrated music, a tear-jerking story, all the elements of a heavy hitter polished to absolute perfection. It's the Full Metal Alchemist of anime movies, you know? It has a little something for everyone. What's crazier to me is how this movie is able to convince you that it's that guy. Like, the most annoying people you knew at the time were saying,
Actually, the plot and characters are weak, and I prefer a silent voice. Have you seen Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress?
The funny part is, I don't entirely disagree. Aside from a few flourishes here and there, the plot is pretty cliche and predictable. Taki and Mitsuha also kind of fulfill their purposes as protagonists and don't do all too much more if we're being honest. But bro, you do not watch Your Name to break down its plot, characters, animation, music, enjoyment on a 5-point scale. You watch it because when Mitsuha sees Tokyo for the first time, you feel it in your soul. You watch it because Golden Hour hits and Mitsuha and Taki finally meet and your heart skips 5 beats. Am I dead? You watch it because we're doing a time lapse in an anime now. Oh my god. When you hear Sakuga, the rest of the industry goes choo 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 slash slash pew 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 meow boom boom boom. But when Shinkai hears Sakuga, he goes The realism in Shinkai movies really does go a step further than most anime, not at all forsaking the anime aesthetic, but paying close attention to details in lighting, shadows, textures, and specific background elements, that something just clicks in the back of your head. Like, look at Taki's phone camera, bro. Look at the exact layout of the options. The yellow box coming up for focus. Oh my god, it even has a zoom slider. It's not Sakuga in the traditional sense, with animation that demands your attention, instead showing such a specificity for the real world that we forget to ask, what do you mean they animated the light slowly disappearing when the door closes? It's like a friggin' Nate D. Hernandez drawing. Like, yeah, that's a photograph. Wait. The music really is in its own class as well, working alongside the animation to enhance it in a way so ordinary scenes transform into all-time greats. They even got the cliche guy running in the climax of a coming-of-age movie scene to feel transcendent. Like, how is that possible? Your Name is one of the greatest anime movies of all time and the world knew it. Its success would make it the highest grossing Japanese movie ever for a time, and it would blast Makoto Shinkai directly into the limelight, making it seem like anything he touched would be turned into media gold. But 3 years later in 2019, when Weathering with You hit theaters, Shinkai's Midas touch might have turned into something more like a curse. Cause everything that made Your Name great was exactly what made Weathering with You so disappointing. So quick recap on Weathering with You. The movie features Hodaka, a 16-year-old runaway who escapes from his small town for big city Tokyo in the midst of a crazy rain season. He stumbles around for a bit, gets a journalism job from a guy named Keisuke writing about urban legends around Tokyo, and then finds Hina, a girl who's a 100% sunshine girl who can bring the sun back to Tokyo. They do what any reasonable Gen Z kid would do and immediately monetize this power. Fast forward a bit, Hina realizes it's her duty to sacrifice herself to stop Tokyo from flooding and make the weather normal again. Hodaka has a gun, stops the Hina sacrifice, and they all live happily ever after. Except for, you know, the whole Tokyo that Hodaka and Hina just kinda doomed to flood now. And okay, before we hash anything out, let's get the good parts of the movie out of the way first. Cause I do like this movie. Animation, still breathtaking. For a rain movie, they sure do nail the water animation, and it looks incredible. Look at the way the rain slowly darkens the concrete, like, huh? Look at this rotating shot of Hodaka and Hina, and like, why would you do this to yourself? Twice! And yo, can we get a shout out specifically for the backgrounds in these films? Cause the backgrounds really are what make Shinkai's worlds feel so alive. Taki, Mitsuha, Hodaka, and Hina are all simple characters that have so much supplemental thought and personality put into their surroundings. Taki's choice to become an architect at the end of Your Name might seem kinda out of left field unless you've been paying attention to his room throughout the movie. Same goes for Weathering with You, the little pink bicycle in front of K&A, and the children's toys scattered about in Keisuke's room. The sewing machine plopped permanently at the corner, and the cute little drawings forever engraved on the side of the shelf in Hina's house. And hold on. They spoil the movie in the first 20 minutes? Regardless of if it's foreshadowing or not, the backgrounds shown in Shinkai's films have so much life and personality put into them, telling you a good deal about the characters that inhabit these spaces and the state of the world they live in by themselves. The music's also still great. I mean, whenever we get to the lyrical songs, yeah, it does kind of feel like we're hitting a checklist. Happy fun montage song? Check. Dramatic climax song? Check. Soft song that turns dynamic halfway through as the movie closes? Check. But I will admit, when the soundtrack hits, it doesn't just hit you, it sweeps you away. I said this before and I'll say it again, Weathering with You is a good film, with quality direction, animation, and scoring all around. It's just, we don't live in a vacuum, and instead live in a world where this is Your Name, remastered, with bonus funky mode. But it's not like the movies are exactly the same, right? That's gotta be an exaggeration. I mean, sure, both movies show an adolescent boy-girl pair, one from the boonies and the other from Tokyo, with supernatural powers having to stop an environmental disaster from destroying the city, as a romance slowly develops between the two of them and has one of the characters with a discrepancy in their age that gets dramatically revealed later in the movie like semi-die, leading the other MC to go on a quest to both save the other and deal with the natural disaster while an emotional Radwimp song plays in the background, leading to an ending where the two MCs are kept from seeing each other till the last 30 seconds of the movie where they finally meet again as another different emotional Radwimp song plays. Yep, okay, yeah, they're just the same movie. Even the non-vocal tracks are the same. The song going ba-da-da-ba-ba-ba-da-da-ba-da-da-da from Weathering with You is just from Your Name. And okay, I cannot sit here and lie to you saying these movies are different, because I had to rewrite that comparison part you just heard several times because I kept finding new similarities to bring up. What felt novel and fresh in Your Name feels cliche and overdone in Weathering with You, because now that you've seen the first one, you can look past the visual flair and the snappy editing to see what lies beneath. A formula. A pretty basic one for a coming-of-age movie at that. Just don't have the guys start running during the climax of the coming-of-age movie. No, Hodaka! So, what are the real differences between the two movies then? Product placement. Man, that burger does look really good though. Like I said earlier, the most impressive part of watching a Shinkai film is seeing the near one-to-one translation of real life into anime form. But where you got Taki drinking Wing Beans coffee in Your Name, it feels like you're constantly being bombarded with brand name here in Weathering with You. It's not just McDonald's. We got Instagram, Twitter, Gap, Pepsi, KFC, Denny's, Cup Noodle, Don Quixote, those funny Japanese stock images, that bear guy, Hodaka's a diehard Apple user, all that just for this guy to use Yahoo Ask? I missed McDonald's. In interviews, it seems like Dishinkai, including brand names, is just par for the course when attempting to create his version of anime realism. And it's not like I don't get it. I mean, I just spent a whole section praising Your Name for having an Apple-accurate camera. Whenever you see a fake brand in an anime, it can kinda take you out of the experience. So by including real-life brands, we get that Shinkai-style attention to detail that makes his anime feel so realistic. But at the same time, come on bro, realism or not, I am being advertised to. Because in a movie by a newly world-renowned director, the price of anime realism is the sale of audience attention. However, it's not like this isn't done without purpose. Having brands everywhere is somewhat a byproduct of the nature of a hyper-consumerist city like Tokyo, and the way it's sometimes presented, as this overbearing visual clutter in a crowded city, communicates a difference in the way Shinkai wants to portray Tokyo in this film. And that's the first difference in Weathering With You I want to talk about. Tokyo. In Your Name, Mitsuha's first day in Tokyo consists of exploring the big city and eating yummy sweets, while finding out the big downside to Tokyo life is that it's fast-paced and can get kinda wild. Meanwhile, how's Hodaka doing in Tokyo? Not great. The Tokyo that Hodaka finds himself in is an escape from his imprisoning life in his hometown, but it's a brute force escape, if anything. The movie makes it abundantly clear that this is not a place Hodaka should be, and that he is fighting for his life out there. Tokyo is actively hostile to its main characters, so much more so than anything shown in Your Name, where the city is exactly what Japan travel TikToks would have you believe in that movie. Weathering With You starts with Hodaka being homeless and falling asleep next to some vending machines outside a hostess bar. As much as Tokyo is a place of opportunity for kids like these, it also stands as a wake-up call for what real life looks like. Cause that's the bigger difference between the two movies, right? Weathering With You has a much meaner vibe than Your Name, and it wants you to know that by making its characters suffer more. There's no playing basketball and going to a cafe after school with friends. Like, imagine having friends. Let's have Hodaka live off instant noodles in a manga cafe and struggle to find a job instead. Shinkai said that he made this movie for the younger generation, and yeah, maybe he made that part a bit too accurately, actually. Where Your Name is a movie of wandering and dreaming, Weathering With You takes a more conscious approach. Gone are the troubles of wanting more than what your small town can offer and wistfully searching for the girl of your dreams. And in are the problems of homelessness and not wanting to be separated from your brother by child protective services for the characters of Weathering With You. Exploitative writing jobs and illegal gun possession, underage hostess gigs and child custody troubles. Weathering With You is not a dark movie. This is still a Shinkai coming-of-age film, but it goes out of its way to feel more grounded in the problems it presents than Your Name. Like, forget a city-destroying comet, we have real problems to deal with in this movie. That kid has asthma! Whether the movie gets its more mature elements to work, however, is a different story. The hope and feel-goods from a coming-of-age film is obviously gonna clash with police standoffs and sleazy host club owners, you know? It was never gonna be easy to mix them in this way. And for the most part, I get the vibe and appreciate the angle Shinkai's trying to take. It's just that whenever Hodaka pulls out a gun in this movie, I kinda hit the... You know what I'm saying? But regardless of how well integrated its mature elements are, the environment Weathering With You presents feels so much more antagonistic to our young protagonists barely struggling to get by. Hodaka and Hina don't live in this world, they survive in it. And in comparison to Your Name, everything is just that bit dimmer, dingier, and dirtier, emphasized further by what else other than the weather. When it rains in Tokyo in Your Name, the world is dark and somber, with lights literally painting Taki blue as he takes his sad, unemployed sip from his coffee. Meanwhile, the rain in Weathering With You is much grayer, never dark, but dim, cold, and, well, lonely. Never-ending rain casts shadowy clouds over the city of artificial light, reflected through the indifferent masses that swamp overcrowded streets. Hodaka says it himself. And the constant presence of rain throughout the movie echoes the heartbeat of a Tokyo that shows a mass disengaged with its surroundings. It's only in these moments when Hina clears the skies to bring back the sun and create pockets of joy and emotion that we see change and life come back into the people of this city. Which should then tell you how important Hodaka and Hina's decision really is to take away the sun from Tokyo. So, Weathering with You is a movie that is so incredibly harmed by how similar it is to its predecessor. Yet you could argue its most controversial part is held in its biggest diversion from Your Name. That being Hodaka and Hina deciding to let Tokyo get flooded in order to save Hina from being sacrificed. I'm not gonna act like this ending caused a storm or anything, but it's, if nothing else, a bold move for Shinkai to make. Like, pulling back from it all, is this not crazy? Imagine if at the end of Your Name, Taki's just like, no, only saves Mitsuha and lets the rest of the town blow up. Especially on rewatch, I personally loved this choice, because it really is the great differentiator from Your Name for the movie. It's just kind of a shame the great differentiator shows up 10 minutes before the movie ends. But whatever. This is individualism versus collectivism at its finest. In a lot of stories, you have that classic trope of a character sacrificing themselves for the greater good of society. But like, who cares about other people, am I right? What's worth more? Choose wisely. The scene works with the themes of individualism even more because there's much less of a personal stake involved in the consequence. The damage in the aftermath literally falling to the collective instead. And the scene itself is by far the highest point of the movie. As Hodaka and Hina fall from the sky with Great Escape playing in the background, this is the moment Weathering with You breaks out of the shadow of Your Name and becomes something else. The view of these two falling through the sky is so vivid and breathtaking, finding stability in each other's arms with the view of a bright and hopeful Tokyo beneath them. This scene right here is everything to me. And it seems I'm not alone in this evaluation. In interviews, Shinkai noticed that while adults hated this ending, young people were much more receptive, saying, "So adults getting angry about the ending, it was already predicted. I wasn't surprised. What I was surprised about was that there were less young people who were angry about the ending. I thought maybe the young people, maybe half would hate it, half would love it, but more loved it than hated it." I think it's perfect to have a generational divide in opinion on a coming-of-age movie. But let's dig into that a little bit more, because I think it's important. What's so impactful about Hodaka and Hina's choice that it creates a split in opinion specifically in age? Well, to answer that question, we're gonna have to talk about jobs. What the fuck? Being a sunshine girl and changing the weather is Hina's job in this movie. She says that much herself.
私好きだな。この仕事、晴れ女の仕事。
It's not a job in the traditional sense, but then again, it kinda is, isn't it? You got the whole website with an inbox of organized requests, the nice structure of consultation, performance, which is then completed by an exchange of monetary goods, and the final legitimization of the job by being hired by an actual company, where Hodaka has to wear a suit and looks like he browses LinkedIn a little too much. Being a sunshine girl is then posed as Hina's path to come of age. You can see this in the way jobs are used as a marker of becoming an adult in the movie. Hina initially has to lie and say she's older than she is to get her part-time jobs, while Hodaka starts the movie getting rejected from jobs for being too young. And when Hodaka is finally hired by Keisuke, he gives Hodaka a beer, as if to say he's made it as an adult. And like, I hate to do Thing Japan right now, but we're totally doing Thing Japan right now. Did you know?
The Japanese language exclusively holds the traditional concept of growing up.
But seriously here, the term shakaijin in Japanese literally means society person, and denotes someone with a proper job who can pay taxes, function properly on their own, and is able to contribute to society as a whole. It's basically the English equivalent of saying someone is a proper adult, or a working member of society. I bring this up just to stress how much weight getting a job holds in Japan, in order to be seen as an adult in society, and how consistent this cultural norm is with the way jobs are portrayed in Weathering with You.
記事にすれば稼げるかも。
ね。
何それ？君だんだんケイちゃんに似てきたよ。つまんない大人になりそう。
So bringing it full circle now, when Hodaka says,
好きなもう晴れ女なんかじゃない。
he's not just saying you shouldn't make the weather sunny anymore. He's not just saying let's let Tokyo sink into the ocean. He's asking Hina to give up on being a proper adult and withdraw from society, to actively harm society and create a new path for themselves. Because screw being a boring adult. Of course adults would get upset at an ending that was telling people that growing up sucks, and people would rather destroy society than come of age and have to enter into it. Wait a second. If this is how the climax of the movie goes down, can we really call this a coming-of-age movie? When I picture coming of age in my head, it's like the ending of Toy Story 3, you know? Leave the toys behind, go start college, so long partner, Woody goes to Deltarune, yada yada. In Your Name, Taki and Mitsuha can only find resolution and each other after everything's settled down and they're not hot-headed wild high schoolers anymore. So when you have a coming of age movie that in its final moments decides, no, let's not come of age actually, it leaves an impression. But what is the real difference between generations in this movie? Well, it's the fine line between child and adult in Weathering with You. Tokyo's a place that forces children to grow up too quickly, Hodaka and Hina being prime examples of this. Meanwhile, Nagi, Hina's little brother, is an elementary schooler that Hodaka calls senpai, and yeah, it's played for laughs. But when he first appears, it's a way for the film to show that in Tokyo, even elementary schoolers embody traits usually found in people twice their age. And it's not just that Tokyo creates a desire in children to grow up quickly. They literally can't be kids. Whether it's Nagi stopping by the supermarket to pick up sardines on sale in order to support their parentless household, or Keisuke's daughter being kept from playing outside on account of the heavy rain affecting her asthma, the Tokyo and conditions surrounding the city that Shinkai presents disallows children from acting their age, and as seen through Hodaka and especially Hina, propels adolescents into an uncomfortable adulthood that forces the literal erasure of self. This is the adult life Weathering with You foresees for its young protagonist, and it's not any stretch of the imagination as to why they would do everything in their power to stop it. In contrast, Keisuke stands as exactly what any small town kid would think a big city adult is like. First scene with the main character, and he's cheating him out of a meal and drink. 1,000 yen for a beer? That was a much more egregious price to overseas viewers in 2019. Keisuke runs a fake journalism company out of his house, spends all his money on pachinko and woman, and gets by paying Hodaka 30 bucks a month. He's the reason you're taught not to talk to strangers in school. But at the same time, Keisuke is rational, money smart, and dealing with perhaps the most real problems out of any of the main cast. Near the start of the film, Keisuke's sleazy lifestyle is criticized for not being that of a shikaijin by his mother-in-law, using that as the primary reason for keeping him from seeing his daughter. And you see him working throughout the movie to become that exemplar of the proper adult he needs to be in order to get through the messy procedures of legal parenthood. That's why by the end of the movie, we see K&A go from a venture in Keisuke's house employed by his niece and a high school runaway to having an office building with, you know, contracted adults. At least I hope so. If the defining moment for Hodaka and children as a whole in the movie is choosing to save Hina and doom Tokyo, then the defining moment for Keisuke and adults is firing and kicking Hodaka out once he's properly wanted by the police. Because Keisuke has to maintain a clean image to get custody of his daughter, and can't risk having Hodaka around. It's a heartless move, sure, but it's rational, and not without reason. Coming of age in this sense means having to make these hard decisions that sometimes lie in opposition to your personal feelings on the situation. We're told that Keisuke sees a lot of himself in Hodaka, and look at this idiot. Depressed and relapsing after kicking a poor homeless kid out to fend for himself. But ultimately, he was the one who made that call and stood by it, and that's what makes him an adult. And finally, to round out the youth-adult conflict, there's Natsumi, Keisuke's niece. Natsumi is a step between child and adult, K&A being her go-between while she searches for a real job that doesn't include writing about child sacrifices. But where job searching is a passionless field that disappoints you at every turn, those child sacrifices, kinda enticing though. Well, Keisuke goes through a phone call getting the Sunshine Girl story they've been working on rejected by a magazine. Here's Natsumi literally closing the job application tab to go look at freaking Skyfish Instagram posts. Like, yeah man, me too. Natsumi still makes hard decisions as an adult, but she's a character much closer to Hina than she is to Keisuke. In this moment, she's here not just to emphasize how unappealing entering the workforce and adult life is, but to show what you have to give up to become an adult, and by that extension, what she's not willing to give up. To become a shakaijin, you can't be listening with bated breath on every word a fortune teller is saying, or believe in Sunshine Girls as Natsumi does, lest you compromise your image as a working adult. Cause I mean, Sunshine Girls don't exist, do they? Keisuke says as much.
マジになんなよ。ヨタ話だろ。
And that's what lies at the core of the youth-adult conflict in this movie. Do sunshine girls exist? Well, yeah, of course they do. Hina's literally clearing the sky right in front of me. Yeah, but do sunshine girls exist? One of Weathering with You's most interesting scenes comes at the very end of the film, when Hodaka comes back to Tokyo 2 years after everything went down. He meets with an elderly client who once filled out a request for a sunshine girl job, and she says this.
知ってるかい？東京のあの辺はさ、もともと海だったんだよ。江戸そのものが海の入り江だったそうだよ。それを人間と天気が少しずつ変えてきたんだ。だからまあ、元に戻っただけだわ。なんて思ったりもするね。
This is an opinion repeated by the adults of Weathering with You, by Keisuke, by this old priest guy, the idea that change in weather is not an effect of sunshine girls or magical happenstance, but a product of the world as it has always been. And it's interesting to think about it, because you kind of want to believe it. There's a rational side of our minds that just inherently looks for a better, more realistic explanation to this crisis than just magic and mysticism, and also relishes in the fact that this answer absolves Hodaka and Hina of the blame of flooding Tokyo that comes with their choice. It's an answer that gives protection and peace of mind, and it works because it's in line with what we expect from the world. And this seems to ring true for the denizens of Tokyo as well. The film goes on length to show how, after the flood, life in Tokyo has adapted and balance has been restored. This once crazy weather becoming a part of normal, everyday life. The weather wasn't ever crazy. This is simply how the world works. So I ask again, do sunshine girls exist, or have we already accepted the way this world is? The weather in this movie can most directly be seen as a stand-in for the consequences of climate change. But in my opinion, it's everything, really. As we've established before, Weathering with You is a movie that uses the constant rain of a cold and distant Tokyo to communicate the harshness of reality. And in much the same way as perpetual bad weather, as we all entered into the bottomless pit of bad news that was the late 2010s and like all of the 2020s, you would know that with every new piece of misfortune, there's not a huge dynamic shift in the world, but a slight change in the air. A slowly sinking feeling that doesn't result in a huge explosion, rather taking the form of a hanging guillotine swaying above our heads. And that's exactly what the weather is for the people of Tokyo in Weathering with You. We notice the change in skies, we know this weather is unusual, and that something bad will happen if it continues. But as rational human beings in society, we're forced to accept it and move on with our life. The world may be actively getting worse, but we still have to live in it. And besides, even if we didn't accept it, are we really able to believe that we have any power to change this world? Well, Hodaka is. What's crucial about Hodaka's conclusion that him and Hina did change the weather is that they were able to do anything at all. Without it, they're just two helpless kids in a city much bigger than themselves. But that simply cannot be true. Throughout the film, we've been watching Hodaka and Hina break down the insurmountable walls of Tokyo, bringing sunshine and causing the heart of the city to pulse again. Every time Hina clears the sky, we see memories made, connections formed, and lives slowly changed, no matter how mundane the request. Later on in the film, there's a scene where an old police officer talks to Keisuke, lamenting the passion Hodaka holds that allows him to chase after Hina, and admitting that even he envies that passion. We watch as soon after that passion overtakes the rational Keisuke as he tackles a police officer and allows Hodaka to continue on his quest to save Hina. You can digress and say these moments would have happened without the presence of Hodaka, that Keisuke's compromise of logic was an internal choice he made himself. But in order to live in this world with hope, you need to have a capacity to defy logic and believe in our unseeable power to affect others' hearts in even the smallest of words and actions. You need to believe that sunshine girls exist. That belief is the passion, the love held within the naivety of youth that vanishes in adulthood and cuts open our desire for a better tomorrow for all to see. And to Hodaka and Hina, protecting that belief alone is worth taking ownership of all the blame associated with that choice. You can't simply erase that passion from our minds and live as though we merely exist in this world, clinging for our lives at the whims of nature. This world exists because we chose to live in it, and we have to believe that somewhere in our body we still hold that innate power of choice to affect the world and see the marks we leave on it as they truly are. Because when the credits roll and the lights turn on, Weathering with You leaves us with one last question. Are we able to believe in our own capacity to change others? Or in other words, is there still anything that love can do? Weathering with You is a flawed movie, doomed by its inevitable comparisons and similarities to Your Name. But in the film's final moments, when it matters the most, it says so much more and makes a bigger impact in my mind than Your Name ever could. And that's where I think the merit of the movie lies. Weathering with You is a movie that sticks with you. There's a scene closer to the end of the film where Hodaka runs away with Hina and Nagi, and they end up in this extravagant hotel. You watch them mess around in the bath, feast on instant noodles, and do karaoke, all while Hodaka desperately prays for nothing to change, to keep the three of them together forever and ever. I've always thought about this scene. The voiceover of Hodaka's quiet prayer and the soft piano melody playing in the background contrasts so well with the liveliness of what's happening in the room, and gives Hodaka's thoughts a sort of cognizance. It's like an acknowledgement of the futility of his wishes bleeding through the desperation in his voice. And I don't know. I guess it's the image of three kids struggling for so long, getting one last time to truly be kids before everything inevitably goes wrong again. After this, things do change. They really do seem like they're at the whims of the world. But for this single short night, they exist shut off from everyone else, in this temporary space they've created for themselves alone. It's moments like these that remind you that a coming-of-age movie doesn't have to say anything new or unique to justify its existence. It just has to leave you with an emotion. Weathering with You is a movie about weather, about holding those close to you tight. But much more than that, Weathering with You is a movie about believing you can have an impact on the world that shapes you. And in a time when it feels like everything is on the verge of collapse, I think that's a message we could use right now. We can't do much in this short life of ours, but if there's any emotion at all that allows you to believe you can, then it exists. It exists for you and you alone.
自分のために願ってひな